Good morning, everyone. So lovely to see you all here this morning. I see a couple of new faces, which is always nice, and a whole lot of other faces I've seen before, which is also always nice. Always wonderful to have you here at Mountain Vista on a Sunday morning. I'm Chris Tackett, I'm the music director, and I just wanted to say good morning. Make sure that I shut my phone off. There we go. It's 2024. I always seem to feel a little resentful when people say, now turn your phone off, but I know to do that. But yep, just the other day in the middle of a rehearsal, my phone went off. So, a little bit of Bach to get us going this morning. A piece from the two-part inventions in honor and tribute. She's not dead, I promise. Wendy Carlos and her seminal album, Switched on Bach.
Good morning. My name is Iris Safehaven. My pronouns are she, her, and on behalf of Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist Congregation, I'd like to welcome you to our service today. I'd also like to extend gratitude to all who work to make this service possible. Reverend Matthew Fontcrary, who, even in absence, his presence is felt. Chris Tackett, our music director. Stacy Sosa, our religious education coordinator. Tay, our engagement coordinator. And Stephanie Morales, our administrator, of course, as well our volunteers, which Lord knows we couldn't do any of this without. Our AV crew, volunteers in greeting and hospitality, our wonderful song leader and volunteers in RE who are with our children. Thank you all so much. I want to acknowledge as well that our congregation resides on land traditionally and currently under the stewardship of the Thana-Otham and the Yaqui people. We hope that our use of this space honors them, and we hope to foster a relationship with them that does not forget but grows into something greater in the future. We also come here today to honor those whose lives have been lost to anti-transgender violence. Transgender Day of Remembrance is this coming Wednesday, so today we're going to talk about transphobia that led to this violence. More critically, the fear at the core of it. I'll be honest with you, this is my first time doing a service like this, so I ask you to join with me in creating a space where we can be honest about our uncertainties, our vulnerabilities, in hopes that we can move through this time together with open hearts, willing to be surprised about what we might discover.
We light this chalice today in memory of the lives of transgender individuals who have been taken from this world. We remember the souls lost to violence, hatred, and ignorance. May we, as a community, lift up their spirits and affirm their worth. Sarah Lamble, an LGBTQ activist, has said, "It is not enough to simply honor the memory of the dead. We must transform the practices of the living." In the light of this flame, may we find understanding for all people, no matter the gender they identify with or how they choose to express that truth. In the warmth of this flame, may we find compassion to offer support and community to all those who need it. And may this flame kindle the passion to fight for a world where all can live in peace and freedom without fear.
Let us take a moment to be still together. This is not easy. Talking about loss, about lives stolen and voices silenced is heavy work. But this is why we gather, to honor, to remember, and to prepare ourselves for the hard truths we must carry. Take a deep breath in. Feel it expand within you and let it out slowly. With every breath, notice the weight you carry, the grief, the fear, the anger, and notice too the strength within you, the courage it takes to sit with this pain and not turn away. Breathe in again. Let the air fill you with resolve. Resolve to hold space for what is hard. Resolve to meet fear with compassion. Resolve to honor the lives of those we remember today by continuing to fight for the living. As we prepare to enter into this space of remembrance and truth, may we carry with us both our sorrow and our hope, our pain and our love. And may these guide us to act with courage, care, and unyielding compassion. Take one more deep breath in and let it out slowly. We are ready.
I'd like you to rise and join us in singing our opening song this morning, Jim Scott's beautiful "Let This Be a House of Peace." It's number 1054 in the supplemental hymnal, Singing the Journey, if you have one nearby, 1054. Otherwise, we'll sing verses 1, 2, and 4, and may it be a call to indeed make this a house of peace, of freedom, and most of all of love.
Let this be a house of peace, of nature and humanity, of sorrow and elation. Let this be our house, a haven for the healing, an open room for question and our inspiration. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of freedom, guardian of dignity and worth held deep inside us. Let this be our house, a platform for the free voice, where all our sacred differences here shall not divide us. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of prophecy. May vision for our children be our common theme. Let this be our house of myth and lore and legend, where trove of ancient story and cradle of our tender dreams. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace.
Traditionally, Transgender Day of Remembrance is commemorated by reading the names of trans people who have been killed in the previous year. I will not be doing that today. I've been a part of a service that focuses on that, and as a trans person, it was brutal. I do understand that it is an important tradition to honor the humanity of those who have been taken far too soon. So if you do want to be a part of a service like that, there is a community gathering on Wednesday, Transgender Day of Remembrance, by the Kindred Connections Collective at the House of Neighborly Service in South Tucson, where they will be doing names readings. I'm not affiliated, but it does look like it will be a wonderful event. So if I'm not going to be doing that, what am I going to be doing today? I'm going to be reading you a story. And I'll make it known right at the outset that it's a metaphor. So just look for that. I come from a theater family, so I hope you don't mind if I get a bit theatrical here. This is the story of a regular guy who finds himself facing some mysterious supernatural happenings. And unlike many of the characters who we are plagued by in the horror genre, he does not behave like a fumbling, bumbling doofus. When something gets weird, he does something about it. Do you like scary stories? Unfortunately, we don't have a campfire or s'mores, but settle in, get comfortable. This story is called Agnostophobia. Ready? It happened in a suburb outside Atlanta. The moon was full, the stars shined, crickets chirped, and sirens rang in the distance. A haggard mother startled awake at the sound. Somehow, she just knew. She jumped up and frantically searched the house for her 7-year-old son. "Joey," she said as she ran through the house. "Oh my God, Joey!" He wasn't in his room or any of his normal hiding spots. She ran out onto her back porch and yelled into the darkness, "Joey!" She grabbed at her hair as her mind swam. With the horrifying possibilities, a shadow loomed over her, and before she could even think to be afraid of what she might see, she jerked around with a terrified scream. This was the unfortunate end of one family's story, an encounter with the shifting man. But this isn't the story of that haggard mother or her son. It's the story of the Saunders household, when the shifting man came into their home. Jim Saunders, man of the house, police detective, and loving father, had no intention of letting his family come to a tragic end. The first night, Jim noticed something strange. He was arriving home from work far later than his family liked. He walked into the kitchen and heard a noise behind him. He turned around and saw his daughter, Cora, 7 years old. "What are you doing up so late?" he asked. Her expression got sly. Why sleep when I can watch TV? Goodness, she sounded just like Jim had when he was her age. He mirrored her expression. "Why get grounded when you can go to sleep?" She didn't like that as much. "Fine," she said, "but I'm going begrudgingly." She walked up the stairs and he rolled his eyes with a chuckle. She may act like him, but that vocabulary came all from her mother. The light from the TV still flickered in the living room, so he went to turn it off. But when he got there, he found Cora curled up on the couch, watching the screen. "Hey, how did you... I told you to go to bed." She jumped. "Nuh-uh, I've been here." "Very funny. I'm taking you to your room myself." "Ah, but why sleep when I can watch TV?" What? "I just told you why." "You know what? Come on." He grabs her with a brah, and he lifts her up and she laughs. And he tucks her into bed. "Good night, Daddy," she says. "And good night, shifting man." What the heck? Never mind. She's probably just sleepy, a little delirious. That was the first night. The second night, just a few days later, he was once again arriving late. But this time his wife had left him dinner. That was nice. He sat down to eat, and there's a shadow looming over him. He jerks around, and it's Melanie, his wife, of course. Something about it had scared him. Never mind. "Hey there," he says. "Thanks for leaving me dinner." And she smiled. "How was your day?" "Long," he says. "I can tell you about it while I eat." She says, "No, I'll wait for you upstairs." "Oh, okay." So she goes upstairs, but it's not long before she comes back down, looking very drowsy, much more drowsy than she just had. She says, "Cora was fine, out like a light until I walked in." "Well, why did you?" he asks. "You asked me to check on her." No, you must have just been half asleep and dreaming." She says, "Yeah, I guess so. I guess that must have been." He says, "It happens. But I've been meaning to ask. I keep forgetting. What's a shifting man?" "Ah," Melanie says, "it's Cora's magical imaginary friend. She apparently likes to play with it on the playground. Talks about it every day after school. It's so adorable," Melanie says, to hear her describe the games they play. "Okay, but why is it called a shifting man?" "It's weird, right? It's weird. I tried suggesting different names, but apparently shifting man is what he wants to be called." That's what Cora says. Jim tried to see it as adorable like Melanie, but something about it just put him on edge. He didn't like it. "Maybe she watches too much TV, he says. "Maybe," Melanie says. "I did catch her watching TV past bedtime again," he says. "Oh, jeez." He got up and walked to the living room. Melanie followed. And he lifted the TV remote and put it up on a bookcase. "There. No more TV without our help. Period. Okay? She can't get to it." That was the second night. The third strange night was the last. Just like the other times, he was arriving late. As soon as he walked through the door, his phone rang. It was his partner, Tom. So he answered. "What's up, Tom?" "Didn't you tell the Sarge you'd take our new case home to work over the weekend?" Yeah? Why? Well, I got the case file in my hand now. Jim didn't even know why he was surprised. He was just that tired. Oh, I can't believe I did that. Tom snickered. No worries, pal. Y'all are on my way home. I'll drop it off. Okay. I owe you one. Yeah. Jim hung up and only then noticed the light from the TV on in the living room. He went to investigate and found none other than Cora 2 feet from the screen. Cora Marie Saunders, what are you doing up? She jumped at the sound of her full name and whipped around to face her dad's angry expression. How did you even get the remote? The shifting man got it for me. I'm not joking. Did you climb on the bookcase? You know that's dangerous. I didn't. The shifting man. I don't want to hear it. You've lost all TV privileges. No, I'm going to bed. She dashes out of the room and up to her room, up to the stairs. Jim shook his head. He followed her. When he got upstairs, she was already in bed. He says, I'm serious. No TV. What? But I didn't mean to. It's final. Good night. Her shoulders slump. Good night. Jim closed her door, started walking to his own bedroom. When there was a toilet flush from the bathroom, he turned to look and saw Cora walking out of the bathroom. She says, I'm going to bed. I just had to pee. What do you were just in bed. And he yanks the door open to her room, but the bed's empty. He looks back at Cora, who only looked confused for a second before she realized what was going on. You met the shifting man, she said. Now do you believe me? He can turn into anyone. I told you I didn't climb on the bookcase. Jim's blood ran cold as he finally put the pieces together. There was something in the house. But before he could even think about what to do about that, the doorbell rang. He was downstairs before he knew it, pulling Tom into the house. What in the hell are you? There's something supernatural in the house. He cut Tom off. What? I know it sounds crazy, but it's a monster or something. Tom shuffles on his feet. Now, Jim, don't look at me that way. Have I ever? Hey there, Melanie. Tom cut him off. Melanie was coming down the stairs, and Jim instinctively reaches for his holster, but it's just his wife. His wife. She's wiping the sleep from her eyes. Hi, Tom. What are you doing here? Jim spoke first. There's something in the house, baby. The shifting man isn't just some imaginary friend. Melanie hesitated. Oh. Tom cleared his throat. Sorry about the doorbell, Melanie. So used to being up this late, I didn't think. Anyways, I was bringing something to Jim, but I think he's overworked. Jim growled. I'm not crazy. You gotta trust me on this. I'm taking the file, Jim. Tom turned to Melanie. Make sure he gets some rest. As Tom left, Jim tried to grab at him. Hey, wait! But Melanie's hand on his shoulder made him stop. She says, I think you should lay down. And she brushes him off. He brushes her off. I think you should listen to me. Honey, you know I'm a good detective. Don't you trust my instincts? It's not that. I trust you. It's just... Let's go to bed. Not when there's some sort of monster or creature or something in the house. It could look like us, act like us. It could even be... Jim cut himself off as realization hit. It could even be Melanie right now. He drew his firearm and leveled it at the person who looked like Melanie. Jim! Get in the living room. What are you doing? Get in the living room. Melanie complied and started toward the living room with her hands up. Jim noticed Cora peeking down at them from the upper landing. That means you too. Cora squeaked but didn't move. Now! Cora rushed down the stairs and into her mother's arms. What's going on? Melanie stroked her head. Daddy's just a little scared right now. She glared at Jim. Don't you point that gun at her. Jim's voice got low. This is my house. I'm not going to have some monster threatening me and my family. Get in the living room. Melanie nodded slowly and led Cora along. Jim walked behind them, keeping his gun trained on their backs. All right, he yelled into the house. Whoever else is here better come out now. Melanie led Cora to sit on the couch and turned to her husband. Jim, please. Shh, I know you're out there, he says. Just come out. He waited. When nothing happened, he growled. "Ugh, stay here," he said to his family. "I'm gonna find this thing." Jim didn't turn his back on his family. As he left the living room, he backed out. When he was out of their sight, he turned, stalking through the house. He towed up the stairs, whipping around corners, barrel first. Cora, another Cora, peeked her head out of her bedroom. "What's all the yelling about?" Jim turned suddenly and pointed his gun. "Get in the living room." He pushed her down and into see the others, and the two Coras locked eyes. Melanie held her Cora closer. "Oh my God." Jim pointed his gun up at the Cora in Melanie's arms. "Get up." The two just held tighter. "Get up!" He yanked that Cora away and put her with the other one across the room from the couch. Melanie tried to get up, but Jim put his hand out to block her. He stood strong in the middle of the room, facing the girls. When either of them flinched, Jim followed with his gun. Melanie cowered back down, but spoke. "Honey, please put the gun down." Jim scoffed. "Am I the only one who cares? There's a goddamn monster right here." "I don't like this," one Cora said. Jim trained the weapon on the girl. "Is it you?" "No," said the other. "So it's you?" "No, I just don't like this." Melanie reached toward Jim but didn't touch for fear of startling him. "Please stop this," she said. "No one has to get hurt." "It's a monster. What about that don't you understand?" "But it hasn't done anything. Besides lying, presenting itself as something it's not, getting close to our daughter. I'm not about to give it the chance to do anything worse." "I'm scared," said Cora. To the other Cora, Jim hissed. "That's right. You don't seem very scared at all." "No, Daddy, please, it's not that." "Don't you call me Daddy." "No, I'm sorry. I don't, Jim, stop." Melanie lunged at him and tried to get the gun from him. He shoved her off and smacked her in the head with the butt of his gun. Before she could get back up, he aimed his gun at one of the Coras. He knew which one was the imposter, and he wasn't about to let it harm his family. That Cora only had enough time to gasp before Jim fired. She collapsed to the ground. Melanie screamed, "No!" She tackled him and wrestled for the gun. The other Cora bolted to the back door and into the night. The wind blew furiously, whipping at her hair. The moon was full. The stars shined. Crickets chirped. And soon, sirens would ring out. The person who looked like Cora morphed into a tall man in a trench coat, and he ran into the trees. The haggard mother searched frantically for her son. He wasn't in his room or any of his normal hiding spots. She ran out into her back porch and yelled into the darkness, "Joey!" She grabbed her hair as her mind swam with the horrifying possibilities. A shadow loomed over her, and before she could even think to be afraid of what she'd see, she jerked around with a terrified scream. When she saw who it was, though, she breathed a sigh of relief. The looming shadow was the man in the trench coat. "Oh, thank God. Where have you been? Were you shifting around other people? I've told you time and time again." The man transformed into a crying 7-year-old boy. "Joey." "Oh my God, what's wrong?" The boy fell into her arms. "I'm sorry, Mama. I didn't mean to. I was just playing." "Oh, honey, it's okay. Everything's gonna be okay. Just tell me what happened." I didn't mean to." He could hardly get his words out between sobs. "I know, honey. It's all right. Aren't you a big, strong man? A superhero, right? What was that cool name you picked out, huh?" I'm the... He wailed, unable to say. He's the shifting man.
Transgender Day of Remembrance Prayer by Sunshine Jeremiah Wolf. On this Transgender Day of Remembrance, we remember those who have been murdered for being who they are, those who face violence on a daily basis, those who have lost loved ones, and those who worry for loved ones. May we come to a time when we cease to shame children around gender roles and expression, where we allow for freedom and exploration of identity and expression, and to a world that operates from love, especially when things are difficult and confusing. May all of us who live with the threat of violence find support, strength, community, hope, and safety from violence.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
The dark is scary. The unknown is scary. When you find yourself far away from the light of what's known, it's confusing, disorienting. It's easy to get lost or to stumble and fall. Worst of all are the denizens of the dark, the creatures we can't see and so imagine as monsters. It's easy to see why we fear the dark. After all, any danger could lurk there. Sneak up on an unsuspecting wanderer, crouch in the shadows, wait for the perfect moment, and pounce tearing its victims to shreds. It could happen. But the reality is not usually so terrifying. In fact, most things that live in the darkness are far more scared of you than you are of them. Let me say that again. Most things that hide in the dark do so not out of a predatory need to hunt and instill fear, but out of their own fear of becoming prey. In short, the dark fears you too. Agnostophobia means fear of the unknown. That's what my story was about. Jim was so afraid of this thing that doesn't stay what it's supposed to stay that he doesn't see the humanity in it. He's so afraid of it invading his home, he sees danger where there is none and ends up creating that danger himself, and as a result, harms his own family. Can you see the metaphor now? Sometimes trans and queer people do strange things. The cliche is colored hair, weird clothes, unusual behavior. It happens. When society has pushed you out into the darkness, you might want to reject trying to fit in altogether. If I'm already such a weirdo just for being who I am, why should I try to conform in any other way? So yeah, I'll color my hair. I'll wear whatever I damn well please, and I will act a fool if I think it brings me happiness. But another cliche is hypersensitive, defensive, even aggressive behavior. And that happens too. If you happen to find yourself in some of the less savory sides of the internet or the news, you may have seen videos of this exact thing, someone misgendering a trans person, and they lose it a little bit. It's not good behavior. And I think, well, let me first say, the people who share these videos, they want you to see them and paint all trans people with the same unflattering brush. That's what they want. Trans allies would say, well, not all trans people are like this. And that's true. Most aren't. That is true. But I want to go further because it's not something that I want to be dismissed. It happens, and it happens for a reason. It's a trauma response. When you've lived so long in the dark, a small slight can feel like a big one, and a small danger can feel massive. Trans people have lived in fear for a very, very long time. And Transgender Day of Remembrance is the day we remember what that fear is, why we are so afraid. This Trans Day of Remembrance is particularly haunting because we are filled not just with grief and anger for the fact that trans people are so often taken too soon. We are filled with fear for the future. This election has shown in stark relief that blatant, unrepentant transphobia is perfectly acceptable to the majority of Americans, not just with the election of past and future President Donald Trump, but with the red sweep of the nation, the unified government behind him, ready to follow him on his seemingly unending quest for power. It's terrifying. I know that trans people can be strange. We can wear things, and do things, and say things that make you uncomfortable. I get it. Seeing someone doing something that doesn't follow the social script can make you cringe. Don't they know better? Don't they understand how their clothes and words and actions make things worse for them? Maybe if they didn't do these things, people would accept them more. Maybe if they could just be more normal, their lives would be easier. But those thoughts that go through your head are the exact thoughts, the exact ones that led to the deaths of my siblings and sisters and brothers. And I don't care what they wore or said or did. I don't give a damn about how uncomfortable they made people. They did not deserve to die. And we all agree with that, right? Like, I don't think there's anyone here who disagrees with that. Fortunately, violence isn't really the only thing inspired by fear. I often feel like I'm sorted into just a few boxes, all of which, in one way or another, are caused by fear. I'm a monster, hiding in the dark. a mystery too uncomfortable and not important enough to be worth deciphering. Or I'm a saint and a visionary, persecuted unjustly, too good for this world, a martyr. That last one, I think, comes from a fear of being seen as transphobic, not really from a desire to not be transphobic. Ironically, that is a kind of transphobia. I'm not fodder for your righteousness, nor am I a mystery to solve, and I'm definitely not a monster. I'm just a person. We're all just people who can do amazing things and terrible things and mediocre things. This is true even though we are often strange. And I do want to be very clear. I'm not trying to tell you to let toxic behaviors into your life, trans people who do bad things. I'm not. We need to hold people accountable for their actions, even if those actions were triggered by trauma. What I am asking you to do, what I'm begging you to do, is to have compassion. Try to be understanding when we don't do things in quite the right way. Let trans and queer people be strange and imperfect. Lord knows you all are. And the thing is, when you start having compassion for the strangeness of others, you may find you start to show more compassion to your own strangeness. You may start to feel like the social script isn't just how people act, it's restrictive. Maybe. Maybe not. Another thing I'm not saying is that strangeness is somehow superior to normalness. Be true to yourself. That's one of the lessons of being trans, however strange or not strange you happen to be. I'm also not insisting you must now be paragons of acceptance and grace, the perfect trans allies with nary a transphobic thought. That's hard, really hard. Transphobia is deeply embedded in our culture, pervasive and pervasive, subversive, sneaking into our thoughts and even our actions despite our best intentions. This is true for all of us, no matter how accepting and no matter how queer we are, even me. In fact, if you think you have rooted out all of the transphobia in your mind, I'm inclined to believe that you've become blind to it, and you have more growth to do in that area than some others who are a little more humble. I'm not asking you to be perfect. All I'm asking is that you try. As my wife loves to say, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. Don't try to be a paragon. It just backfires. Just try to be a little better than you were yesterday. If you can have compassion for the strangeness of others and the strangeness in yourselves, we, the queers, can try to have compassion for you on your path of growth. A little bit of transphobia doesn't scare me. It's a small price to pay to be a part of a community that tries. Can I get an amen?
Yes, it is that time. It's time to sing again. I love that point. Not allowing for toxic behaviors, that's a whole different topic and a whole different service we could be doing, when we will be doing at some point. Strangeness, uncomfortableness, an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to grow, and an opportunity again to choose love and to choose support and to choose acceptance. And with that in mind, I'd like you very much to stand and sing with us Jason Shelton's wonderful song, Answering the Call to Love. It's in the Teal Hymnal. Everything's in the Teal Hymnal this morning. 1014, Answering the Call to Love.
Promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love, hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
Each month, we select a woven basket partner, an organization doing amazing things and bringing our values to life. We take a collection each week in the woven basket for this partner. You will find it right next to the wooden bowl as we leave our sanctuary and begin our fellowship together. All of November, we make an offering for Emerge Center Against Domestic Abuse. Emerge believes that together we can build a community where every individual lives free from abuse. Since 1975, they're providing shelter and intervention services, trying to hear and help those whose lives were being ravaged and disrupted by violence and abuse. They and we believe it is time for our community to come together to act to end abuse and violence of all types. You support their work by putting something in the woven basket, just as you support the work of our congregation by putting something in the wooden bowl. All of your gifts are gratefully received. Before we close out today, a word from my own heart, a blessing, a call to action. May we not fear what we do not yet know or understand. May we instead meet what lurks in the darkness, both externally and within, with unyielding compassion.
As we extinguish this chalice, we carry with us the light of remembrance and hope. We reflect on the power of accepting what is unfamiliar to us, the strange ways of others, whether in gender, identity, or expression, are not to be feared. For in that strangeness we find the beautiful diversity of humanity. We recognize that each person who is different from us brings something essential to the tapestry of life. May we embrace the unfamiliar or what challenges our own understanding. May we remember that there is nothing strange or wrong in someone living their truth, in acting in ways that may seem unfamiliar to us. Instead, may we welcome that difference with curiosity, compassion, and respect. May we also have compassion for ourselves and others as we grow and learn and challenge the old patterns and habits we are beginning to replace with new ones. In this moment, let us reaffirm our pledge to embrace the diversity of human experience, to recognize and release our fears, and to stand in solidarity with all people, especially those whose voices have been silenced or marginalized. The flame may be extinguished, but our work continues. Let us carry its warmth in our hearts, and let that warmth guide us toward a world where every person can live authentically without fear of judgment or harm.
And may we learn from the strange, embrace our own strange, and perhaps find our own strange and dance with it. Yes, it is. Let's stand. Beautiful, beautiful piece by the Doors, because people are strange.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange. People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange.